As the mist began to clear, the red devil demon raised one of its long, talon-like hands. It quickly raised the other at the same time, in a bid of victory. He had now been freed from his prison.
Free at last from my prison. I thank the stupid and pathetic mortal who led me back into this realm. Little did he know it would be the last of the sacrifices. You will now all bow down before me and beg for the mercy of a quick death.
The whole house began to shake. It started rocking from side to side. It was like a loose tooth that was about to give way. Rashka, the red devil demon, clenched his fists together. It made the house shake even more. The mist then began to shape into some sort of portal. It was clear now to Velma that Rashka didn't just plan on bringing himself, but he planned on bringing any subjects with him that were truly loyal and dedicated to him, to then destroy all life around him that did not submit immediately to his will. All of them tried to hang on to whatever piece of furniture, door frame, or heck, even carpet itself they could get their hands on, just to try and keep still for a moment, to stop them from slipping and sliding, possibly going into that portal. Who knows what lay before there? What evils, what creatures? Perhaps whoever did want to enter that portal, perhaps part of themselves was already trapped in there. The portal itself almost seemed to beckon people towards it, sometimes whispering, sometimes screaming, just to go towards it. Some it would just simply tempt, by promising power, riches, all that kind of stuff. But with others who were not tempted by such things, it would scream and screech at them, torment them through the ages, until they could resist no longer and enter the portal to stop their suffering.
Each of you will enter the portal. For each of your sacrifices, one of my followers will be freed. You will do it and not resist, otherwise your suffering will be...
Before he had time to finish that sentence, all of them had scarpered. How on earth were we meant to stop him? As Daphne was able to get her breath in. The portal is how we got here. We just need to find a way to send him back, Velma replied. I think I've got an idea, but I'll need Shaggy and Scooby. They'll have to be a distraction, Fred said as he came up with a plan in his head. Of course, the two cowards did not want to comply. However, with the house tilting and shaking and mist surrounding them everywhere, they didn't seem to have little choice. No Scooby snacks, no snacks of any kind, in fact. The two of them grabbed a blanket that was sitting in the hall cupboard. It wasn't exactly white, in fact it was red and blue with a tartan pattern. But needs must. They both put on the bed sheets. They then, still gritting their teeth and reluctantly, made their way back into the room with the red devil demon. Both of them with their arms raised up in the air going, "Ooh, we'll ghost! We will hold you and torment you forever if you do not go." Rashka, the red devil demon, seemed to have an almost blank expression, tilted his head to one side and almost seemed to raise an eyebrow. Even to him, this sight had completely baffled him. He didn't know whether to completely destroy their corpses now and use their life essence to his own aim, or to possibly keep them around as playthings. After all, eternity could get pretty boring at times, and if he was to rule over all Demeanor, he'd need some entertainment here and there. As he was thinking this, Fred ducked under the very not ghost-like blanket, grabbed what was left of the cage that was still in the room, and threw it at the red devil demon. He hoped it would knock him over, force him into that portal. However, none of the such happened. Instead, Rashka just raised one of his arms, the heat of which managed to completely melt and evaporate the cage.
You think your puny metal boxes can stop me? But please, by all means, before you end your miserable existences, please do try again. I find it most amusing and also strategic for what those who may try to stop me may do, but if it's as pathetic as yours, I have nothing to fear. You think you've met your worst nightmare? I have 10 times worse. I think you should burn slowly from the inside out. It would take days for it to fully compulse you to die, but it'll be fitting nonetheless.
Shaggy, Scooby and Fred all felt a slight uncomfort in their chests. It felt like heartburn, only worse, and they could feel it slowly starting to build. The Red Devil Demon was burning them from the inside out, very, very slowly, enough to keep them alive, as he said, for days. What would he do to the others? Freeze them outside in? Velma and Daphne both ran in to try and help, but there was no use, no stopping it. They both ran to feel the same thing start to happen to them. Slowly and painfully the heartburn began. Then, suddenly a voice could be heard. Not sure of its location, but it could still be heard echoing round the room. "I'm sorry, I brought you kids back into this, but I'm not gonna let you die because of me!" Foster, who had been hiding behind the Red Devil Demon, only able to slip into there because of all the commotion and distractions caused by the rest of the gang, shouted his voice against the wall so it would bounce off, not knowing where his voice would come from. It was enough to temporarily distract the Red Devil Demon. Detective Foster almost pounced as he jumped. As he pushed the Red Devil Demon, his skin began to burn and boil. Within seconds he was dead, but also it was enough to push the Red Devil Demon back into the portal. He started swimming around trying to get his way out, but it was too strong. Anything that started to enter that portal was on a one-way trip through it.
You will release me! You will help me! You will get me out of this! You will release me! You will never be free of me! I will always be there in your nightmares! I will come to you! I will! I must be free! I must be free!
The portal had swallowed him up. It then began to close. It didn't take very long. Although it felt like minutes, was in reality seconds. The house stopped shaking. The mist finally cleared. Things had finally settled. Normality and reality were now setting back in. Mystery Incorporated just stood there staring for what felt like an eternity. So much so that their eyes began to feel sore and dry. One by one, silently, they each left the house. In the coming days, they were officially cleared of all charges. Mind, there was no evidence anymore to charge them with, only suspicions. A lot of people in the surrounding area did think the gang were all just murderers who got away with it. Daphne decided to make this season of Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake her final. She said it was unlikely that they'd renew her contract anyway after what had happened. It had been nearly a month now. The gang were all sitting around Fred's living room. Each of them had an announcement to say to the others. Fred wanted to take Daphne alone to round the beautiful lakes of which he spoke of near the camp of Camp Little Moose, at least the ones that still existed round there. Velma had announced that she wanted to go into writing and self-publishing horror books herself. Shaggy and Scooby had both received a letter from Scrappy. He had missed them and wanted to see them again after all this time, and to also resolve things between them after hearing about the recent events in the news. So, in all of their heads they knew that this was it. It was happening again. The gang was splitting up, going their separate ways again. Last time it happened, it wasn't a big deal or big thing. They just slowly drifted away from each other as friends do. They had thoroughly enjoyed themselves being reunited together, but they also realised they had other things they wanted to do independently from each other, to have their own separate lives as well as having a shared one. Though they all assured each other that this would not be the last time they would meet, but none of them knew when they would reunite. But they knew for certain that they would. After all, whenever there's a mystery in town, who you gonna call? No longer a pup, but never less still. Scooby Dooby Doo. Scooby-Doo, the Red Devil Demon. Written and read by Ryan J. Cheshire.